Hi, everybody. I think I'm live. I'm going to go on Facebook and just check this out. So give me one moment here to get onto Facebook so that I can see everybody. Oh, boy. How are you all doing? I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful day. Um, Let me just go to my site. Lisa Shield, dating and relationship coach. That would be me. There I am. All right, everybody. It is lovely. Whoopsie. I just found myself. It's easy. You can just, we don't have to search for ourselves anymore. We can just find ourselves on Facebook. There we are. All right. I am going to share this. I think I just shared it to my story. I'm going to share it. Hi, Cindy and Lisa Cohen. Hello, hello. How are you? All right. I am going to talk to you tonight about emotionally unavailable men and how sometimes we think that men are emotionally unavailable and we want to label them as emotionally unavailable or avoidant. And something that's really important for us to start to think about is that very often, hi, Jeanette. Good to see you, honey. One of the things that often happens when hey, Janine, great to see you. One of the things that can happen a lot is that the partners that we attract are really a reflection of who we are and where our level of emotional intelligence is at the time. And so it's extremely important for us if there's something repeating in our dating and relationship history, if you keep attracting addicts or you attract unavailable men or you keep attracting, I don't know, men who cheat or who are liars, anytime there is a repeating pattern in your relationship history, it's because of something you're doing or not doing. And I know that that sounds hard sometimes to hear something like that, right? But the great news is that if it's something we're doing wrong, it's something we can change, right? I don't have the power to change my pathological lying ex husband. He's going to have to do that for himself or not do that, right? But what I can do is change my part. So, what often happens is many of us get into relationships, and something I hear, oh, I have lots of questions here. Allison's really coming up with the questions. What did you never so much bad luck in dating? Guys are awful, or is it just me? Perhaps I'll listen. Allison, honestly, my clients are having amazing experiences and they're meeting men during COVID. I have so many clients who are finding wonderful guys online during COVID. And I can tell you that I've had as many or more clients find their guys now as before. So probably even more. I had a guy this weekend invite me on his boat after kissing him Friday night, and Sunday he was connecting with another woman. Hi, Donna. Hello, hello. It's good to see you. Um, yeah, Allison, he's a jerk. I mean, you're just not attracting great men. I don't know why that would be happening, but yeah, he's just not a great guy. He showed you his true colors. Let him go and move on. If you are attracting narcissists or if something is um, repeating, if you have a repeating pattern, which is what I was talking about a few minutes ago, um, you need to look at yourself because we are the common denominator. We are the constant in the, equation of our love life, right? So if you add up all the men that you've ever been with and you say, wow, I attracted a bunch of guys. Hey, Ellie, how are you, my sweetheart? Um, yeah, if you look at your love life and you see a pattern like this, like you're attracting narcissists or you're attracting emotionally unavailable men, and this is something that's going on over and over again, that pattern is repeating, it usually means that it's something you're doing. And often, especially when it comes to emotional unavailability, it's a reflection of your own emotional unavailability. And I will explain why. Hey, Annette, good to see you. Boy, we're getting lots of questions today. Christy says, I got engaged on 1/1/21. That's a lot of ones. We made it through 2020 and still love, like, and desire each other. Clissy, that's fabulous. Congratulations, honey. And I hope that that just continues on. Maria says, I was off and on with a man for 5 years that wouldn't commit. I then started seeing another man for about a year now, and all of a sudden, I don't hear from him. All was great. I don't understand. Maria, you are attracting men that are unavailable or avoidant. And there's something that you're doing. There's something about the quality or the kind of men that you're attracting. And you need to look at that. So I have a free presentation. You can go to lisashield.com. And yeah, if there is a repeating pattern in your relationship history, if something keeps repeating, it means that there's something that you need to look at. There's something you're doing, something about these men. They're avoidant, they're commitment phobic, but you have to start to educate yourself. So, one of the biggest issues with relationships is that we just think it's supposed to happen. Like we're going to just meet this wonderful man. Everything is going to fall into place and we're going to live happily ever after. Because isn't that what love is all about? Two people find each other, and love is that magic glue, that thing that just holds two people together through thick and thin. And if you really love each other, you will get each other, and you'll live happily ever after. And it's not how it works. I mean, all you have to do is look at the divorce rates to get that, right? So there are there's things that we need to learn, and it's crazy. Like, people come into my course, and from day one, they start working, doing the material, following this path that I've laid out for them. And it is astounding. I have a young woman, she's 29 years old. And um, yep, we attract who we are, not what we want. She is a 29-year-old mother of two, and this woman is amazing. She's 29 years old, and she signed up to work with me. And she said, I want a better life for myself and my two sons. And she has one son that's a year old and a second son who's 5. And this woman is darling, but she wants a better life. And she knows that it's her. It's her choices. She's the one who has some work to do on herself. And she knows that if she learns the right things, she can change this so that this is not going to be her life. And she started my course, I think it was on Friday, and she came on our call. We have a group call, and she came on the call today, and she said, Lisa, I already know I'm in the right place. She said, what I've learned just over this weekend has already changed my life. She said, I'm so glad I'm doing this work because I can see so many mistakes. And she was really frustrated and upset about her ex-husband, who she just couldn't get through to. And she's starting to put the pieces together and understand that this man was wounded and damaged, and that he just couldn't be the kind of father and partner, that she was looking for. And she's already at a place where she's starting to forgive him. Maria, he's a good man, and I was so excited that things were great, and I do hope I hear back from him. Maria, you don't wanna start putting up with bad behavior in a relationship. One of the things about a romantic partnership is your partner is your stability. He should be your rock. And if a man is disappearing without telling you why, if he hasn't given you a clue and he just leaves and he cuts you off emotionally without telling you why he's doing that, that's not a good thing because two partners in a relationship have to be able to rely on each other emotionally. And so, if your emotional support system, if that rock, that person, your go to person, just disappears suddenly and without explanation, this is a terrible, terrible thing to do. Terrible. You need to be able to depend on each other. So if you're in a committed relationship and a man just disappears like that, I would really be hesitant to trust him again. I mean, he would have had to have had like a severe accident and have lost his memory and been in the hospital. I mean, for me to just excuse that behavior or make that behavior okay, knowing what I know today, I wouldn't. There would have to be an absolutely extraordinary explanation for that because if you've been in a relationship for an entire year and he just up and disappeared, he's got intimacy issues. Um, sorry. I'm just gonna turn my phone off like I should have done already. Um, you just have to be, you have to be careful of who you let into your life and what you're willing to put up with. So I would be careful, Maria. I know you care about him and I know you want him to come back. And it sounds like things were good, but either both of you need to get help or he needs to get help, but it's not a good sign. So back to emotionally, this thing that we hear all the time about, I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men, or I look at my history and all the men I was with were emotionally unavailable. That's a sign that you yourself are probably also emotionally unavailable, especially if you were if you were in relationships with these men and you felt that they weren't opening up to you. There's something that you're doing. So just because you're able to talk to your girlfriends and you open up and you tell them everything and your girls, like there's nothing you can't say to your friends, um, just because you can open up to your girlfriends does not mean that you're opening up to men in relationships. And when we talk about availability, somebody being emotionally available, what do you all think that actually means? What does it mean? I'd love to see in the chat just a little bit from all of you. Like, what does it mean when when you say that somebody is emotionally available? Does anybody know? I'd love to hear you all tell me a little bit about what your idea of emotional availability is. What's your definition of emotional availability? Just curious. Accepting kindness. That's nice. I like that. What else? What else is emotional availability? What does that mean to you, to some of you? Like when you say a man is emotionally available or not, or he's unavailable emotionally, allowing them to spend time. Yeah. Talks about their feelings. Yes, Linda, that's great. Feeling safe to love. Beautiful, Niola. To be able to be authentic and open about what you feel. Yep. Someone who has an open heart and lets in another, someone who's vulnerable, telling you how they feel. Yep. So emotional availability is when somebody is emotionally available, They allow you to have access to their emotional world, right? Sharing their feelings, exactly, Karen, letting you learn about their life, making decisions together. Hmm. Including you. I love this open heart, available connection. You guys are doing great. I love this. Willing to be vulnerable, being vulnerable. Hmm. Yeah. What does it mean to all of you to be vulnerable? What does that mean? What does it mean to be vulnerable? These are terms we throw around, right? We throw these terms around. Be vulnerable, emotional availability, being emotionally available, but we don't really stop and define them. Like, what does it mean being transparent and feeling safe? Feeling safe and to be transparent, right? Beautiful, Liz. Beautiful. Anybody else? Anybody else, to share my deepest feelings and fears? Yeah. Vulnerability, is also about showing weakness. It's about being willing to let somebody that you care about, somebody who you want to respect you. Yeah, I love that, Lisa. Be my authentic self and my walls are down. So one of the challenges, taking the risk to love and possibly be hurt. Exactly, Maria. So vulnerability is opening up and sharing even the parts of yourself that you judge, right? The parts of yourself that you're afraid. If I tell you, that I had an affair with a married man and it went, and I know it went on way too long and I feel horrible because this man had, a wife and children and every day I thought I should cut it off, but I couldn't, right? And that would be emotional of, being vulnerable because somebody could judge you for that or going to a man that you really care about and who you're very attracted to and you want him to like you and having to say, I have herpes or I have a child who is a child with autism, thinking that he may reject you for those things. That's vulnerability. So once when my husband and I'll tell you a beautiful story about vulnerability. On our very first uh, New Year's together, I don't, if anybody knows, yes, it's sharing all parts of ourselves, both good and bad. And I love that, Shanice, to lead with an open heart. Thank you all for being for participating. I really appreciate when you do that. So on our my husband and I have been together for over 18 and a half years. And I love this man so much. And when I first met him, I was just in awe. Like I was awed by I mean, I still am, but I just was like, oh my God, he is everything I ever wanted. And he is just, hi, Eunice. Good to Unirod. Just great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Um, so we're talking about vulnerability and being emotionally available. Keoka, good to see you too, honey. So on our very first New Year's, and you have to understand, like, I'm so, so, so in love with this man. And my husband's a man. He's like 9 years older than me. So, and just a man, like a man's man. And I was so in love. And I had this little gift store. Um, on Sunset, it's called Sunset Junction in Los Angeles. It's kind of a hip area. And I had this little gift store and it was Christmas time. So I had all the proceeds and the money from the gift store and I was running around, rushing, getting ready for New Year's Eve. We were going out to dinner and we were going to go to the restaurant where I fell in love with him for New Year's. And it was very, very sweet. And I was rushing around, going and getting my clothes and my hair and my nails done. And I picked up all the money and the checks from the store. And when I got to Benjamin's place to get ready, to get dressed to go out, hey, Cindy, good to see you. was getting dressed to go out for dinner, and I reached in my handbag and the money was gone. And we're talking about thousands of dollars in, Christmas sales and checks and all. And I was devastated. Like, I just, I was judging myself. My frenemy was in my head, just beating the living daylights out of me, telling me, my mom used to be verbally abusive with me. And Diana, I'll answer your question in just a moment, honey, as soon as I'm done. Um, I was beating myself up. My mom was verbally abusive, and I internalized that voice. You're an idiot. You rush around. How could you be so stupid? You ruined your this beautiful night that you've been looking forward to forever. I mean, I was really running a number on myself. And I knew I had to tell Benjamin, I couldn't go out to dinner with him. This was going to be on my mind. And just didn't, I wanted him. So, talk about being vulnerable. Here's this man, and I want him to see me as just this grown up, this wonderful, mature adult woman. And I felt like a 5-year old little girl. And so he came in to get dressed and he could see that I was upset. And I just looked at him and I was so ashamed. I was just so embarrassed. And I looked at him and I just said, there's something I have to tell you. And it wasn't his money, it was my money, but I just felt badly. I lost all thousands of dollars and I just felt I had been careless. And I felt like this was a pattern for me, that this is what I do. And so I looked at him and I said, I think I lost all the money from the gift store. I was busy and I was running around and I was getting ready and it's gone. It's just gone. And I can't find it. And Benjamin, he just is really gifted in the sense that he has tremendous emotional intelligence. And he didn't say to me, well, have you looked in your car? Have you searched here? Have you done this? Have you done that? He just looked at me and he said, come lay down on the bed with me. And we laid down and he was, I was the little spoon, he was the big spoon. And he was, just wrapped himself around me and he was whispering, he was talking in my ear. And, I had been so afraid that he would, you know, think that I was immature, I was irresponsible. And he started to talk in my ear and um, he said, let me tell you about a time I lost a lot of money. And it was the most beautiful meeting. They say that when you're with the right partner and you're vulnerable, the most beautiful thing is that it should also create a space for them to be vulnerable with you. And so he proceeded to tell me this story about how he had invested all the money from the sale of his Boston apartment when he left college with a friend of his, and his friend turned out to be a gambler, and he invested it and he made a lot of money. And then his friend, he was an investor, and then he invested it in the stock market, and then he gambled all of it away. So Benjamin lost all of this money, and it was really his parents' money because they had bought the apartment for him. And so, it was a lot more money than I lost, by the way. But it was really just, and it showed me not only could I be vulnerable with this man who I loved and admired so much, and, if I hadn't been vulnerable with him, I would have never, I wouldn't have known that. So I gave myself that beautiful gift. But he met me there and, he made it okay for me. He opened up and he met me there and he shared from his heart. And it's just, I still remember that moment, of wanting him to love me and admire me and think I was an adult and just kind of bearing my soul, and having this beautiful man just open his heart to me and share with me. And so, yeah, it was really amazing. And um, I went back in the, to get dressed. I was getting ready to go out. And I remembered that there was this secret pocket in the purse that I had been using. And I had never, ever, ever used this secret pocket before. But in the bottom of the purse, there was a false bottom and there was a zipper. And I had slipped the money in between the bottom of the purse, in between the leather lining and the bottom of the purse and zipped it up purposely because I knew I was going to be running around and I didn't want to lose the money. So there was all my money. I found it right before we went out to dinner. So anyway, it was just a beautiful story of vulnerability and just how two people, not, I mean, how you can meet there, right? It was so lovely how you can meet there and grow closer, I'll never forget that moment of him, me feeling wrapped in his arms and him whispering in my ear, yes, Lisa, to know Benjamin is to love him. He is a wonderful, wonderful man. And last night, we laid down, we were just listening to some music in the bedroom at our new home, and we were laying in the bed, and I woke up this morning and I said, that was a wonderful evening. And he said, I love wrapping myself around you. So that was just such a sweet thing to say. But that's what you get when you start to really become vulnerable. Now, in the past, I would have tried, I would have been emotionally unavailable. I could have made excuses that I didn't feel safe or it was the men or whatever. But if I look at my own history of relationships, and I think if some of you were to look back, at who you were being in those relationships, you might have spent a lot of time trying to get them to open up. But I really want you to think about, did you open up? Were you really being emotionally unavailable? Or were you being emotionally needy? Or did you even really understand what it looked like and sounded like to be emotionally available yourself? There was, thanks, Shanice. Thank you so much. There was a wonderful story, a wonderful, wonderful story um, about a woman who came in to see me for coaching. And this was years ago. This was when I was a one on one coach. And I had said to her, I think it's not the men that you're seeing. I think that, you might be emotionally unavailable. And I said to her, I know it's hard to hear that, but I think that usually, they're a reflection of you. Water seeks its own level. And so you may be attracting men who are emotionally unavailable. And she didn't like that. She got really, really upset with me and she felt like I was judging her. Um, and that's one of the hazards of being a coach because you can try to give people feedback, but sometimes they're not ready to hear it or they're not ready to take responsibility, for their own behavior. They want to blame other people or the men or the dating sites, right? But I had recommended that she read a book, and the book is called He's Scared, She's Scared. And it's a really great book. Whoopsie, he's scared. I'm putting it, she's scared. And this is a book about, how both people, the man and the woman, how we can both be afraid and that we can attract a partner who mirrors our own lack of emotional availability out of fear, right? It's like you're scared and you want him to open up, but he's scared because he doesn't think you'll understand him. And it's kind of a pinball thing, reactive thing that goes back and forth. So anyway, I told her to read this book and she didn't see me for a little while. And then she came back and she said, when you told me that, I was so upset with you. And I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see my own emotional because it's very hard to see yourself objectively. That's one of the reasons why going to see a great relationship coach will shave years and years and years of time off of your relationship history. Because if you have somebody who's really perceptive, not a girlfriend, not your mom, not your sister, not even your guy friends, but if you have somebody who's really educated in this area and can really help you see your patterns, it can happen like that. And so she came back to me and really apologized and said, when you said this to me, I thought, you were nuts. And I was really upset. And she said, after reading that book, I'm floored. She said, you were absolutely right. I'm the one who's emotionally shut down, and I'm attracting partners who are as well. Now, why is that? Like, why is it? Why do I know that that's true? Because now that I'm on the other side of it myself, I wouldn't sit around and try to break down anybody's walls. If I met a man who was emotionally closed off, I'm not gonna be his therapist. I don't care how great he is. I don't care, that he's the CEO of some company and he's got all that and a bag of chips. If he can't connect with me emotionally, if he's not there, if he's not available, there's no way I'm gonna waste time in a relationship with him. Emotional nakedness is what the best relationships are founded on. Two people who can lean into each other and love each other and, open up their emotional worlds so that you can be all of yourself, strong and confident and, self-assured, but also sometimes insecure or weak or uncertain, right? Life is gonna throw lots and lots of curveballs at us. So, yeah, and I wouldn't I wouldn't have the patience at this point for somebody like that. And also, once you really are emotionally available and open, you know what it looks like and sounds like, and you're gonna find a person who can do this with you. Any questions? Anybody have any questions or comments or anything? So Diana said, question for Lisa. I've connected with someone from a dating app. We've been chatting for about 2 weeks. He seems very interested, and yet he hasn't actually set a date. How do you nudge a person in that direction? I'd rather meet in person sooner rather than later, so not to invest too much time if there isn't a connection. So that's a great question, Diana. And my suggestion for you is that you nudge him, right? You need to say, hey, are you as cute in person as you are? Are you as funny in person as you are over chat? I bet you're even more handsome in person. I'd love, if you asked me on a date, I bet I'd say yes. Why don't you give it a try? So you've got to find ways to be inviting and playful. You don't want to say to a guy, it's better. Let's just say it's better not to say to a guy, why don't we meet for coffee? You wanna set it up in a way that he'll ask you, right? So it's a little bit better, it's a little sexier, a little more flirtatious if you set it up in a way that he asks you out rather than you ask him. So you do a little bit of playfulness, a little bit of, "Well, if you did this, I bet I'd do that," right? And so you're giving a little bit of a teaser there, a little bit of playfulness. That would be my suggestion, and my women do that a lot, and it works. So Keoka says, "My boyfriend just ended our relationship due um, due to not being able to balance being a single dad, starting his business, and our relationship at the same time. He was emotionally and mentally connected with me. Oh, he said, "It's not me. He just feels bad not giving me the time he knows I deserve. He was emotionally and mentally connected with me. My question is, should I move on knowing we both had a great connection with each other?" Yeah, you wanna move on. You do. So, um, men look, men are not able to often balance many different things in their lives, and if he wanted you to be a priority, he'd make you a priority. Just trust me. Like, a man who's in love with you and really wants to make you a priority, he would do that. He would carve out the time, he'd find it, and he'd make it happen. And if he's using excuses like being a single dad and starting his business and all, and you're the fallout from all of that, and he doesn't, he could easily fit you into his life if he really wanted to, but he's choosing not to. I would never put my life on hold for anybody. I would keep going. There's a wonderful man out there for you. And Keoka, don't waste your time. I don't care how great the connection was. If it mattered as much to him as it did to you, he would make it happen. So, if he does come back around, he could come back around in the future. That's fine, but never put your life on hold for anybody. Anybody. You really want to just keep going, because I'll tell you, once you meet your person, it is the most wonderful feeling in the world, and you don't want to miss a second of this. What do I do with inconsistent online communication? Is this, Niola, that somebody just keeps kind of popping in and popping out at will, kind of like the Pillsbury Doughboy? I don't know. The poppin' fresh doughboy. He's there and then he's not, and then he's there and then he's not. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably say something. I would I was just watching. There's a delay on this thing, so it's kind of funny sometimes to see the delay to watch myself saying something a minute later. It's really funny. Um, I would just yeah, I would just say, "Hey, you feel like like you're here and then you're not, and then you're here and then you're not, and I'm just curious, like, would you like to move this thing forward, or, you know, or should I just move on? You put it out there and you make it kind of a challenge and fun and playful. But yeah, I would say something. I would just say, "Hey, I'm curious. Do you have time?" So one really great way to say things without sounding judgy or angry or whatever is just to say, "Hey, I'm curious, and just I'd love some clarification on this." And just see, like, you're one, we go a week without you writing. Like, I'm curious. Yeah, are you interested? Are you not interested? Lisa says, "I have a first date on Monday with a man who is taking a train to see me, and he wants me to determine what we will do. I have no idea if he wants to treat me to a drink or a meal. How should I respond to him?" Um, Lisa, just say, I would just say, "Hey Jack, I'm excited about making plans." And, I would just say, "What were you thinking? Did you want to just grab a drink or dinner? Drinks, dinner, question mark, just kind of casual. Drinks, question mark, dinner, question mark. He's taking a train all the way up to see you. That's awesome. How do I know when a man needs space?" Um, well, ideally, if it's the right man, he'll tell you. He'll just let you know. He'll say, "I really need some space." But you can also tell, Niola, with men. I mean, if you're really in sync with guys and you can feel their energy, yeah. And if you don't, just ask them. Just say, you know, um, yeah, just say, like, "Do you need some space right now?" And just ask. Men need a lot more space than women do. I'm just going to tell you, like, by and large, unless you're an avoidant woman, I mean, for the most part, Women, we can be together all the time. We hang out with our girlfriends. We're all up in each other's business. We wear each other's clothes. We are all, women are fine for the most part, a lot of us being very close and bonded. Men are different. They need more downtime. They can't handle as much, information overload. They get fried a lot easier than we do. Please show us examples of women crossing men's boundaries and how to figure them out before crossing them. Oh my goodness. Um, that's a big question. Well, examples of women crossing men's boundaries. Well, one thing I would say to you is, Niola, I feel like I have you as a plant here to ask me questions on my Facebook Lives. You're doing a great job. I really appreciate it. Um, you know, Gosh, there's so many ways that women cross men's boundaries. One of the things, Niola, that I've been doing a lot of work around right now, um, and that I think is so important, and this may not be a direct answer to this question, but I have a group. So I have a 12-week course where I show women how to date and really develop love and compassion for men so they can attract phenomenal relationships. Just, we want depth and we want amazing relationships, but to have that with a man, you really do have to have a very deep understanding of men and what they're looking for from a woman. Most of us are, as women, our knowledge is really very surface. Many, many, many women do not have, we don't spend time, really studying men and learning about them and understanding what they go through in life. So, um, one of the ways that we cross a man's boundaries is that we shame them, we mother them, we talk down to them. And these are behaviors that if, we all want these high caliber, high quality men, you see all these memes about a real man and I want a real man and whatever, but real men want real women. And that doesn't just mean a woman with a great career and lots of girlfriends and a cute apartment who can pay for herself. A real woman is a woman who really understands men, knows their hearts, knows how to talk to them in a way that lifts them up instead of putting them down. So one thing I will tell you is you never, ever, ever want to tell a man that he disappointed you. The minute you say that, he feels like a failure. The minute he starts to feel like a failure, he feels shame. And the moment he feels shame, his body floods with the hormone cortisol, which is a stress hormone to try to calm him down. And he literally checks out. And if you have a habit, which most women do because we don't really understand the nuances of how this works. And I know I've said things like my husband got us a new car. We just moved to New Mexico and we need an all-wheel drive for the snow. He spent days and looking for this car. He bought this beautiful Audi. And the first thing I did when I looked at it was I said, "Oh, it's got a gray interior." I thought it was going to have brown. And Benjamin said, "Well, I thought the brown was too much." And I said, I don't like gray. Immediately, my poor husband, I didn't realize it at the time, but he felt so much shame because he felt like I should know her and I failed her. And he felt shame because he got gray interior instead of brown. And I figured out, that he was upset about it and whatever. And, I just let it go. I don't even see the color of the car anymore, the interior. But, even without knowing it, I shamed him. And if I had been a little more careful and a little more thoughtful, and I did think I said it in a really good way. I tried to be really kind and I said, I said, I'll just tell you this once. I hate gray. And I said, I just need to get it out of the way. But I know he told me later that, he felt like he had really let me down, like he should have known better. So, it's really understanding men and knowing that when a man tells you, I need space or I need time, or he puts up a boundary, you really, in the same way that we don't want a man crossing our boundaries, like especially sexually, when we tell a man, I want to take it slowly, I don't want to go fast, we want them to, it's hard enough for us to say that, right? And then if a man doesn't respect that, we really get upset. Men will tell you their boundaries, they'll say, I need time tonight, I need some space, I need, and you've got to listen to what they say and then respect it. Lisa says his car is in the body shop and I'm picking him up from the railroad station. He was going to give me a tour of his area and then decided that he didn't want me driving 2 hours to him. That's really sweet, Lisa. He sounds like a good guy. He sounds great, but just ask him about dinner or, dinner question mark, drinks, dinner, a walk on the beach question mark, and just see which one he chooses. Emily says, when my partner talks about other women or we discuss exes, I get triggered and even jealous, even though I know he loves me. How can I better manage my jealousy triggers? Well, Emily, this is a self-esteem issue. And, it really has to do with your inner dialogue. You have to start to strengthen that voice inside of you. You have to practice every time you start to feel insecure and you start feeling like you're getting jealous. You need to then develop that inner voice, that loving, compassionate voice that says, if he wanted to be with those other women, he would be. And I'm the person that he's choosing to be with right now, just like he's the man that I'm choosing to be with right now. I could be with other men too, but I'm choosing to be with him. And you need to start to retrain your brain every time. And you're going to have to stop. And just as if you had a good friend or a therapist or an adult there, you need to start to talk yourself back from that. Maybe even write down a few lines or a few things that really, resonate with your heart about this. And yeah, therapists would tell you to get him to reach out or hold your hand or do something to reassure you when you start to feel insecure. And if you have the kind of partner who's willing to do that, he may also, be willing to do those things. But the truth is, Emily, you're choosing to be together in this moment. And if he wanted to be with those other women, I mean, there's nothing my husband can't tell me. He had this one woman who was stunningly beautiful. Like he said, this woman was, had dark skin and beautiful green eyes. He said she was the most beautiful woman he may have ever seen. And they dated for a little while. And he, has told me how gorgeous she was. But he also said she was crazy. She really was. She was nuts. And so, does he want to be with her? No. Am I a supermodel? Hell no. But he's with me. He's not with her. So, I mean, you've got to start to work on your self-confidence, honey. That's where that comes from. How do you know if a person you're dating is mature? Well, because you're mature. If you're mature, you can tell an immature person, from a mile away. A mature person knows another mature person. So everything is a reflection of you, Niola. Everything. That's a great question. Great question. How can you show emotional availability or vulnerability on a first date where you don't know him yet and you don't feel safe yet? So another great question. Shanice, um, that is a great question. So I highly recommend that you don't overshare on a first date, right? I mean, it really is a meet and greet, and it's important that first of all, the deepest level of emotional availability or emotional vulnerability um, is telling somebody how you feel about them. So that is the very deepest level. I think you're beautiful. I love being in your company. I love you. I miss you. Um, you matter to me, right? So those kinds of things are, in some ways, the most vulnerable things you can say to somebody when you're getting to know them. Um, But when you're on a first date, I think it's important to get to certain levels of vulnerability. So there's 5 different levels. They say that there are 5 different levels. So the first level is just like platitudes or cliches, "Hi, how are you? Have a nice day," whatever. That's the first level of connection. The second level of connection is sharing facts and statistical things, mental things like, where did you go to school? How many siblings do you have? Um, what do you do for work? Right? Then you get into likes and dislikes, preferences. I believe in abortion. I don't believe in abortion. I voted for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. I mean, you start getting into things that will start to separate people. Make sense? Um, you know, uh, I like chocolate cake as opposed to carrot cake would probably be level 2, not level 3, right? And then level 4 is sharing about life experience. Um, I mean, I got raped when I was, 15 years old. My father emotionally or physically abused me. My mom was an alcoholic. These are not details from my life, by the way. I'm just making these up. But those are the fourth level. And then the fifth level is, hey, it really hurt me the other night when you said dot, 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 or I felt sick to my stomach when I looked down at your phone and I saw your ex-girlfriend texting you, after you told me that you would cut that off. So, things like that, right? Those are the most emotionally vulnerable things, or asking for something where you feel you might, get rejected. Like, um, I would love it if we could be friends on Facebook, that would really mean something to me. Or I would love it if you would um, plan something special for my birthday, because that would risk rejection. So those are the most vulnerable things. So you can get to level 3 very easily, like talking about your favorite movies and what you enjoyed or didn't like about them. Or you could say, um, what do you think about the Black Lives Matters movement, right? Like, what do you think about that? What do you think about the trial that just came up, with um I was going to say Rodney King. My brain is so is like going a mile a minute when I do these things, but I'm so George Floyd, how do you feel about the George Floyd um case that's coming up? And those kinds of things can be vulnerable, and they can be things that people can disagree on, and they can also be things that people might say, oh, well, I don't like her politics or whatever. So those could be divisive. Yeah. um so sad to hear about J-Lo and A-Rod. Do you guys want something bigger and better? What's your opinion? Um, well, I don't remember what happened with J-Lo and A-Rod. I know they're not together anymore. But Niola, um, there's wanting something bigger and better in the external world, and then there's wanting what's great on your inner world, right? Um, I was looking for unconditional love. I wasn't looking for a list of qualities in a man. I was looking for a whole person, a man who was a real, who I loved all of him, not parts of him, but where I was able to take the whole person, you know. And it's not like Benjamin is a perfect human being. I mean, he's perfect to me, and for me, but, his ex-wife didn't feel that way. I know that. His 2 ex-wives didn't feel that way. One of his ex-girlfriends wouldn't agree with me. But for me, he's perfect. And I was looking for character. I wasn't looking for, and maybe that's where J Lo and A-Rod varied too. I was looking for a man of substance, a man that I could look up to, a man who had really sorted out his life, who he is in the world, and a man that even other men respected. I think that's a big one. I never said that aloud, but a man who other men respect. That's my husband. And men look to him as a model for what it means to be a man. And I think that's something that I really love about Benjamin. Like when he opens his mouth, the entire table will go silent just to see what he says, because they know it's going to be something heartfelt and brilliant. Karen says on a 4th date, a guy told me that he expected a woman after a few dates to cook dinner for him. That that is a way for a man to know a woman is interested in him, really. Well, I think, Karen, the operative word here is expected, right? That he expected a woman to do that. And, that's as much of a turnoff as women having expectations of men, like he should do this and he should do that. And, we have all kinds of expectations from men. Um, and I really think that expectations of any kind are a turnoff. I think that, whether it's women or men, what does that look like when women make room for a man to be a man with them? Niola, it means that you are willing to let a man take control, that you're willing, you don't just say you want a man who takes control, but you actually give him the reins, right? You give him the reins. And then but you do that. It's like you're going along in life, right? And everybody has their own remote control for their own life. And then you find the guy, right? The guy that you adore, the guy that you trust and admire and look up to. But you really have to find the right guy, not just any guy, but the guy that you really feel, really has it together. And then you give him the remote control to the relationship. And I'm not saying like I turn over all my power to Benjamin, but pretty much I allow him to lead. If Benjamin says to me, a lot of men think that you're supposed to stand back and let a woman walk in front of you into a restaurant. It's really true that technically, just like a man is supposed to walk on the outside, if you're walking on the street, he's supposed to walk on the side of toward the cars to protect the woman. A man is actually supposed to lead a woman into a room so that if there is anything in the way, if there's something she could trip on, he actually goes in front of her. And so my husband said, I prefer to walk in front of you. And I will always at a restaurant, if we're done eating or whatever, I may stand up and I will wait for Benjamin to go first. Or if the hostess is leading us to the table, I will stop and I'll let him lead. Now, 99 men out of 100 or 999,000 men, usually let the woman go first. But Benjamin says, no, the man should go first. So I don't question him. I just do it. I encourage him. I see all of the things that he does for me, that he is doing for me. And I look up to him. I admire him. I compliment him. I tell him he's my hero. But all of those are things that make him be a man. Um, Everything he does, I don't take any of it for granted, even though we both make money, we both work, we put money into the same bank account, we have a corporation where all of our earned money goes together. And I look at Benjamin, I will thank him. If we go out to dinner, I'll thank him for dinner, even though, I'm earning money too and it's going in the same bank account. But I want him to feel empowered. I want him to do that. Allison, if you want to know more about my class, go to lisashield.com and then you're going to sign up to watch my presentation. It's free. It's 45 minutes. It will change your life. And then we'll jump on a call together. I would love, love, love to talk to you. I thought I saw Jeanette write a question. Jeanette, did I see a question from you? I thought that you had written a question here. Oh, there you are. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. Um, so Janine says, when is a good time to talk about religion or politics? I mean, Janine, for me, I would think immediately because that would be a deal breaker for me. So I would want to know someone's politics immediately because I am um, liberal as can be, as the day is long. Like I just believe in rights for everybody, and I believe in human rights. So I'm not going to date somebody that is not liberal. It's not, people are entitled to their own political views. But for me personally, and I think for many people, it's such a core value. It's something that is so core to who I am that I wouldn't even waste my time with somebody who had different political views. Thank you, Lisa. That's really sweet. Jeanette said, I met a man I really felt could go somewhere, but at the end of the evening, I discovered he had different political views. I shut down and left the date sad. Later, I apologized and he accepted, yet he hasn't even asked me out, even though he texts me every day. Jeanette, I think you just need to say, hey, I would love, I think that, I really do feel we can get past the political views and I would love to see you again if you're up for it. Just put it out there, honey. I think you really should just put it out there. Do you think when one person is resenting the other spouse and there's no emotional connection, could they ever reconnect? Yes, you can. It isn't easy, and you want to do that sooner than later, Tina Marie. You absolutely want to get to a therapist or work with somebody who can help you work on this. But you got to do it sooner than later. The longer you let it go, the harder it is to repair this. And yeah, and you want to do it right away. The only way, you know, there's two things about reconnecting. If one partner has already exited the relationship and doesn't want to reconnect, it takes two people to connect. So both partners have to want to work on the relationship together. If one of them says, I'm not interested, you can't pull that person back in. And then the second thing, which is really important, is this: if there never was a strong emotional connection, you can't create something that really was never there. So those are the two caveats. But yes, if both parties really are committed and they love each other and they really want to get back to an emotional connection, and there was one, in the relationship, then yes, you can. Alitza, hi, Alitza. Good to see you. It's hard giving a man control when they are only thinking about themselves. Then he's not your guy, right? He's not your guy. And Jeanette, I wouldn't waste time if you told the guy that you would really love to see him again and he's not taking the initiative, then you're just wasting time. There's no reason in the world. Thanks, Niola. I really appreciate that, honey. There's no reason in the world to keep going with somebody if they're not moving. you're not looking, you are a fabulous woman and you are a busy woman and you have a wonderful life and a lot to offer a man. And I wouldn't wait for any man. If you said you're sorry and you wanted to work through it and he said that he would and he didn't and he's not moving past it, you need to move on. I wouldn't waste time with a guy that's not taking the initiative. All right. We ran over. These were great, great, great questions. So wonderful. And I'm so really lovely, lovely, lovely um, Facebook Live. And I'm so grateful to everybody who came on, everybody who asked questions. And please, if you enjoyed yourself, thumbs up, some likes, some laughs, whatever, some emojis. I love me some emojis. So please, please, please show your appreciation. And also tell your friends to come on these lives. Please, please, please. I do them every single what are we on? Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. I am here, and bring your questions, but do tell your friends because this is how we got to spread the word. Look, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There are a lot of coaches who, there's a lot of conflicting information, and you are looking for somebody who knows her stuff, who's a straight shooter. If you notice, there's no games here. There's no manipulation, right? I am giving you the real sensical, loving, beautiful, grounded approach to finding a guardian of your soul. So please, please, please spread the word, bring your friends, and let's do this again next week, okay? All right. Love to everybody. Be kind. be, be kind to the men in your life. Give them a break, give them a chance. I know some of them are only thinking about themselves, but not everybody is. There are wonderful, wonderful men out there, wonderful men. And, when your heart is open, when you're loving, when you're compassionate to them, they will be the same way to you. Thanks, Lisa. Love to everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I will see you all next week, okay? Bye-bye.